Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, Atypical Security Guard, just finishing up here today. And I wanted to talk about something a little bit different. Normally I talk about issues of personal protection. Sometimes I, share stories about my life. And in general, my page is centered around private security and law enforcement, things like that. But I want to talk today about the things that I wish that I knew before starting a YouTube channel. I think that I'm approaching my fourth year. I think it'll either be 3 years. I think it's 4 years. I think I will have had this channel for 4 years when we get to September, right? So that's a long time that I've been putting into making content, trying to educate people, trying to help people, trying to build a brand. And I know a lot of people, over the last couple of years have gotten into starting a YouTube channel. And I just want to kind of give you, my experience and some of the things that I've learned and some of the things that I wish that I knew before getting into it. So I'm going to give you guys my top five. Number one, let's go number five. Let's do that. So number five is like not understanding that content creation is a job, right? As much as it's an outlet for your creativity, as much as it is a way for you to express yourself, if you want to get anything out of it, right? Even if you just want to get out of it the benefit of having created something or having expressed yourself, it's a job. It's another aspect of of work that you have to put in. Now, I want to give you guys a little caveat, right? For anyone that is, I'm going to say this and it's going to sound wrong, but there's no other way for me to say it. For anyone that is normal, right? So if you are on the fringe of any aspect of content creation, you can turn on your camera and you can immediately get a lot of subscribers. You can get a lot of followers. You can get a lot of attention, right? And I'm going to explain to you what I mean. If you're young and you're doing like goofy shit, if you're making like dance videos or you're making reaction videos where you're like, screaming and yelling, if you're eating weird stuff, like if you're doing young type shit, you are going to get a lot of attention and a lot of views and a lot of eyeballs on you, right? Also, if you're old, if you're like really old and you're on YouTube, then you can utilize that to get a lot of views, right? If you're doing anything that's controversial, you can parlay that into a lot of attention. And that's just kind of the way that the world works. So like if you fall into like a more normalized area of content creation, it's a job. It's a job to get views. It's a job to get subscribers. It's a job to get people to kind of, view what you're doing and definitely to stick around. I would say number four is that YouTube is way more difficult than I thought it was when I first started. And again, like guys, I'm 46, right? So I'm a little bit older. Like when you're watching younger people, and when I say younger people, I'm talking about like, from kids to high school to college age people, when they're doing this, like they grew up on this platform. They've grown up with content creation. They've grown up watching content creators. Like, for people in my generation, just being comfortable in front of the camera, just being comfortable talking like this and doing this medium is very, very different for us because we didn't grow up with this, right? So I think that a lot of people that when they're wanting to get into YouTube, they underestimate how difficult it is. It's a skill, it's a learning curve for people who, are over the age of say like 30, 35. It's difficult for us because this is kind of foreign to what we're used to. And then that's not even taking into account like the technology aspect of it or, things like understanding your thumbnail creation, like all the stuff that goes along with creating content. Most people who are in my age group, it's kind of foreign to us. Number three, and I don't think a lot of people take this into account, it can be very, very toxic, right? For me, like I'm a father, I'm a husband, like I'm grown. I graduated high school a long time ago. So to willingly put myself back in a situation where I'm around toxic people or I'm opening myself up to toxic energy, like that is very, very difficult for me because, you go through your life for the most part trying to grow out of that type of environment, right? You graduate from school, you become an adult, like, and when you're operating as an adult in this space, in this world, you don't really open yourself up to a lot of toxic behavior because you can just cut people off, right? If you're doing content creation, if you're putting yourself out there, no matter what it is that you're doing, if you're teaching, if you're singing, you're putting your art out there, you're opening yourself up to criticism, you're opening yourself up to interaction, to ridicule. And that is something that I don't think that a lot of people take into consideration when they're wanting to start doing YouTube. Most people in my type of situation, they're setting out to do something positive. Like for me, I look at the security industry, we don't have a lot of training. There's not a lot of information that's coming out that's directed towards security guards. There's tons of stuff for law enforcement, there's tons of stuff for military, there's tons of stuff for even the two-way space or the personal defense space. There's not a lot of information or content that's created specifically for private security guards. So I saw that niche as being something that needed to be addressed. When you're doing something and you're coming at it from a position of trying to help, you can't really fathom how much negativity and how much drama and toxicity is going to come with that. It's par for the course, it's part of it, but a lot of people who want to get into this space don't think about that, and it's kind of difficult for them when they experience it. I'm not reading the comments right now, but I'm sure there's probably some toxic comments in the stream right now. Number two is that it's also a great avenue for older people. Again, if you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, part of being on YouTube, and if you're going to do it in a fashion that you're trying to create something, you're trying to build something, you're trying to utilize it to teach or reach people, it puts you in a position where you're constantly having to learn. You're having to learn new technology. There's constant updates that are coming out for the platform. There's, terms and conditions, things like that. I think that for people who are a little bit older, this is a great platform because it forces you to stay current with technology. And a lot of times, people in my age group can kind of be like, you know what? That's for the young folks. Like, I'm older. Like, I don't need to learn this. And no, you do. Like, the fact that you aren't going to necessarily, lean into it and get really into that type of thing is irrelevant. Like, for you to still be a functioning adult, for you to still be a functioning member of society, you have to understand how to operate things like cell phones, computers, laptops, the internet, things like that. All of us have people in our lives, your grandparents, if you're like me, my parents, who are in their older years, and they just have this attitude of like not being able to operate a phone. You ask your parents to show you a picture or a video, and they're like, opening up all kinds of apps and shit, and you're just like, what is wrong with you? A large part of that is because their existence does not put them in positions where they have to operate that kind of technology. So I think it's really good for older people to have a YouTube channel, regardless of what you're putting on it, so that you're forced to stay current and up to date on things that are important for you to be able to navigate life in 2024 and beyond. The number one thing that I wish that I knew about YouTube before I started is that you can leverage this platform. A lot of people, their goal is to get a certain number of subscribers, to get a certain number of, watch time in terms of hours so that you can get monetized. Like, that's a big thing. Everybody wants to get monetized. For people who aren't in that demographic that I named earlier, if you're not out there, doing dance videos, reaction videos, eating crazy shit, doing pranks and stuff like that, even if you do get monetized, if you're in a very specific niche like me, which is private security, it's not a lot of people that are searching for private security videos, right? Even if you do get monetized, the amount of money that you make per month is so minuscule compared to what you put into it. I think I have close to 1,000 videos. I do a live stream generally in the morning. I might do one during the day. I do, one in the evening. I put out a lot of content. I do a lot of content on my community page. The amount of time that I put into creating content for YouTube versus what I make, I'm probably making like 35 cents an hour. Like I'm getting, sweatshop slave wages. However, I wish that I would have realized that as my reach has grown, as my voice has gotten more profound, as I've gotten more awareness around who I am and what I do, I wish that I would have realized that I can leverage that into a monetary gain a lot sooner, right? Being on YouTube for the past 3.5 years has put me in a position where I've contributed to national news networks probably 10 times in the past year, right? Major national news networks. It's put me in positions where I've been on national podcasts, where I've been, you know, asked to do, product reviews for major products. All of that I took and was able to leverage that into being able to get college credit when I went back to school last year, right? Part of my degree that I was going for was a communications degree. And so the school that I went back to, they had this opportunity where you can challenge certain classes. And one of the things that I needed to do was like mass media communication. So I'm looking at the amount of content that I've created for YouTube. I'm looking at the amount of subscribers that I have. I'm almost at 10,000. The amount of times that I've been featured on national news and national podcasts. And I put together this package. And when I submitted that to the university, they were like, you've already knocked out like 9 credits of the the bulk of the communications aspect that you're going to need for your degree. Like, we will give you those 9 credits. It's $285 per credit hour. Guys, think about the amount of money that I saved by being able to parlay what I do on YouTube into a package that I could submit to the university, and for them to be able to go onto my channel, see all of the videos, see the number of subscribers that I have, the number of views that I have, to see the national interviews and go, no, you're right. No, you're right. You've already accomplished what it is that these 3 classes, these 9 credit hours, these 3 classes, what we would want you to achieve by going through these classes, you've already been successful with that. We're just going to go ahead and wipe that off the table. $200, $285 per credit hour, just for the credit hour, right? So I wish that I had realized that, like, that was a benefit that I could get from doing YouTube a lot sooner. It took me all the way up until May of last year before I was like, wait a minute, So, there's a lot that you can get out of this, and it really just depends on what it is that you're wanting to get out of it. But these are 5 things that I, right off the top of my head can go, oh, these are 5 things that I wish that I had known. And some of these things are benefits that I wish that I could have taken advantage of a lot sooner. Okay. So if you're thinking about creating a channel, you're thinking about creating content, there's so many benefits to it. There are some drawbacks. A toxicity, that's a drawback. The amount of time and effort that you have to put into it to get anything out of it, that's a little bit of a drawback, right? But what I've learned in terms of being able to quickly communicate and articulate my thoughts and my feelings and my passions to people, it's made me a much better communicator. It's made me much better at my job in security. My job, 99.9% of it is customer service, right? Being able to come on here and at the drop of a dime, be able to spit a 15-minute monologue, like that level of ability to communicate helps me in my career. It's helped me when I'm on national television. It's helped me to be able to interview for jobs as I move forward, right? A lot of underlying benefits that this has given me, well above just being this platform where I'm coming on here and talking about, private security and other bullshit. So, yeah, if you guys are thinking about doing it, man, do it. A lot of benefit to it. Okay. Let me check these comments real quick before I get out of here. I normally don't even read these, but let me look. H Nation 63 says, I appreciate you taking the time to give us some knowledge, Chief. Absolutely. It is my pleasure. Okay. Gemini Mama says, I'm listening. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. James says, what are you guarding over there, bro? I'm not guarding anything. I'm off. Someone says, Tulsa, Oklahoma, 918, bro. Yep, good to see you. Somebody says they're on post. Congratulations on the most normal seeming person I've ever seen so far. You know what? Tyler Yoksko says, congrats, you're the most normal seeming person I've seen so far, I think, anyway. I really appreciate that. I hope that you're not just trolling and you mean that. That's a very nice thing for you to say. I really appreciate. KC, the drummer, says, thank you for your service. Absolutely. Somebody says, fuck the police. Guys, I am not a police officer. I'm a private security guard. I'm not real bacon. I am sizzling. I'm fake bacon. Someone says, I just took the security exam this morning and failed. They gave me crazy questions. Yeah, well, try again. Keep trying if that's what you want to do. Someone says, shout out from the Philippines. Respect. Full Metal Mars says, blessings to you. Shout out to everyone out there in our industry. Absolutely. One more shout out from Wilmington, California. Thanks for sticking up for security guards. Guys, listen. We'll talk about this real quick before I get out of here. No one sets out to be a security guard. Most people, when they wake up in the morning, they don't have this aspiration to be a security guard. Most people, you either end up as a security guard because you need, a job. Maybe you need a second job, right? Maybe you know somebody who knows somebody and they can get you in. And for the most part, the job is pretty easy, right? But most people don't set out to be a security guard. I was in the military. I've worked in various aspects of law enforcement. And at one point in time, during the 2020 uprising, I thought to myself, you know what? I want to become a cop. Everything that I saw that was going on, all of the complaining, all of the people that were rising up and asking for transparency and accountability, all rightfully so. I said, you know what? Let me get out there and do it. I can do it. But there's aspects to the policing industry that I just don't agree with. And at every instance, there were 4 opportunities for me to get back into law enforcement. And each one, either it didn't feel right or something happened and it fell apart. And during that time, I was working in private security. And I'm working in private security in Portland, Oregon. And Portland, Oregon at the time was on fire. And when I say it was on fire, I mean it was literally on fire. We're going through COVID. We're going through the mask mandates. We're going through all of the issues of people, rioting in the streets. You know what I mean? And so me working in the environment that I was working in, there were so many people that were scared and so many people that were worried and people that were just dealing with everything that was going on. And we were here. There was times where people were overdosing on the sidewalks. There was times where there were fights. There was times where people were, destroying the windows of the buildings. There was all kinds of stuff that was going on. And I'm thinking to myself, right now in Portland, Oregon, everything that had to do with policing was wrapped up in politics, right? The cops didn't feel like they were being treated right, so they weren't doing anything. They weren't responding to phone calls. They weren't responding to emergencies. They weren't doing anything because the district attorney wasn't going to prosecute. And at that same time that that's happening, the private security industry took off because people needed help. There was homeless people everywhere. There was drug addicts everywhere. There were riots everywhere, and people needed help. They needed a response. And private security responded to that. So I have never forgotten what we did. I've never forgotten what we provided during that time, and the amount of pride that I took in that job, the amount of pride that I took in being the protector of the people within the building that I was working, being there for them in all of these difficult situations. It gave me a newfound respect for what we do. I am very, very, very proud to be a security guard. I don't have any desire to be a cop. I don't have any desire to do anything other than to uplift this industry and to help people be better at it. Okay. So if you're in the security industry, I want to share this with you before I get out of here. bonesandbrewsecuritygear.com. bonesandbrewsecuritygear.com. One thing that I have seen for the last couple of years, I love 2A shirts. I love military style shirts. There's nothing out there that's specifically for private security guards. And I've leveraged this channel to do just that. I've created our own line of security guard centered gear, t-shirts, patches, all kinds of stuff. So check it out, bonesandbrewsecuritygear.com. All right, I'm about to jump out of here. So this guy that called me a nigger, that's not a flex, right? A nigger is a victim of oppression. My people are victims of oppression. So you calling me a nigger, that's exactly what I am. I'm a nigger. I'm a victim of oppression. So I don't know if you're expecting me to like get upset or you're expecting me to like freak out or something like that. I get called a nigger every single day. And that's just by my father-in-law. That's a joke, by the way. But no, I'm 46-year-old, bro. You got to come up with something better than that. That doesn't faze me, okay? So I hope you have a good night. I hope that really helped you sleep better. You haven't fazed anybody over here. All right. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Y'all have a great night. You be safe. You watch your back. And as always, I want you guys to watch your six. All right. Y'all take care. Be great.